Hello, Miguel from Mig Tennis, and I'm going to compare my forehand with Roger Federer's forehand. And I found 7 differences. I don't know if they're mistakes, but definitely there is some differences there that may affect my forehand. Just as context, I just basically started playing tennis 6 months ago, and I'm trying to improve as fast as I can by practicing a lot. I got a tennis ball machine, and I compare myself with the pros. And I'm not saying Federer is the only person to compare myself with, but it's a great reference. And the other day I compared my backhand, so you can check my YouTube channel or the description to see backhand comparison, where I also find 7 differences between my one-handed backhand and Federer's one-handed backhand. And I'm going to do the same thing for the forehand. So can you guess which are the 7 differences or mistakes by looking and watching at this comparison video? Let's just watch a few strokes looped. There you go. So it's synchronized at the point of contact. And you can see it looks similar, but there is some differences there. All right, so what are the differences? All right, so let me go frame by frame. Now, we already see a major difference here. This is shot at 60 frames per second, both videos. And you can see how I'm getting ready. I'm moving my racket a lot earlier than Federer. Federer is just nonchalantly, is that how you say it? Just waiting for the ball. He hasn't even started swinging yet, and I'm already swinging. Federer only starts swinging about now. He starts getting ready to swing about now. That is literally, about half a second after I started. I mean, and when you're talking about swinging, which really the entire swing happens in much less than a second. Half a second is an eternity. But look at me, perfect beginner, just trying to get ready as soon as I know where the ball is going to be, more or less. So look at me again. This is me. I start my swing right away, and Federer hasn't started yet. Federer is going to start about now. Okay, so that's the difference number 1. It seems that Federer is obviously so confident that he doesn't need to start getting ready until the very last minute. The second thing is that I noticed that the left hand, Roger Federer's left hand, starts a lot higher. So you can see how I'm with the left hand. It's about this height. And Roger Federer is much higher, right? So let me just check, when does he release the hand? Okay, see what the mistake is here. The mistake is that I am taking the racket back, but I'm not holding the throat of the racket. And I should know better, because you can see that all pros always hold the throat of the racket on their take back. And I am not doing that. And because he's doing so, that is taking his left arm much higher than mine. So is this a mistake? Maybe it is, maybe not. I think it is. Okay, what is the next difference? The racket. You can see how my racket is pointing to the side at this stage of the swing. And Roger Federer's racket is still close. It's pointing more towards the front of the court. Mine is completely pointing to the side fence. Okay, so that's a major difference right there. Okay, and that is difference number 3. Number 4, and this is very particular of Federer, is that his racket, when he drops the racket, is pointing also to the side. Whereas look at the major difference here. I'm trying to actually not do this, and this is hilarious, because when I'm recording myself, I actually think in my mind I'm doing this, that the racket came down from the side and is still pointing to the side. But look where my racket is pointing. It's pointing completely to the back, right? So again, is this a problem? Not only that, the racket is pointing, it's quite open here, and Federer's racket is pointing completely down and to the side. So this is a ginormous difference. And again, I was trying to not do this. For some reason, I find extremely difficult to do this. And I don't know if there's a humongous advantage. I know that Djokovic and many other players actually have the racket pointing back, but usually the face is parallel to the ground, not to the side. Okay? So that is difference number 4. Let's go for number 5. And now difference number 5 is that the racket lag for Federer starts much later. So let's see. Okay, so I'm already doing, you can see how the racket is, we're starting to get that 90-degree between the racket and the arm, which is basically that's the lag, is that the head of the racket is lagging the wrist. You can see how Federer has not started the lag yet, the racket lag, until here. That's where it starts. By that time, I am in full racket lag, 90 degrees, right? And Federer just started. So that's also a major difference here. Federer waits a lot longer to do the racket lag. In other words, it seems like it's a very compact stroke. He started late to swing, and he starts late from the bottom of the racket drop to the racket drag. So it's very, very compact. It seems that maybe as a beginner, I exaggerate everything. I start much earlier, as you can see here. And then I swing way back. And then I start swinging forward with the racket lag almost immediately, right? Now you can see that at this moment, just before the point of contact, we look identical. So my argument would be, if the whole purpose is to strike the ball, similarly, at this point, Federer and I are doing exactly the same, except for the foot position. But I mean, I guess just it's very similar, everything else, is that look at our position of the rackets. It's exactly the same. And at the point of contact, look at that. It's also identical. Even the angle of the racket pointing down is exactly the same. So everything before, it's completely different, but just before the point of contact and at the point of contact, my swing and Federer's swing is exactly the same. My argument is, since the contact is so identical, does it make a difference what happened before or after? So because the next difference is after. That's the difference number 6. Where I follow through here, you see my arm is completely straight, pointing forward. By this time, Federer's arm is already kind of bent. Mine is completely straight, right? So after contact, he's already bending his arm, and the racket face is quite similar. So I don't see a major difference there. But definitely my arm, it seems like a little bit of an awkward position that is so straight. I wonder if that makes a difference. But this happened after the point of contact. So obviously, nothing that happens after the point of contact is really affecting what happens to the ball, because the ball has already left the face of the racket. But this is a major difference as well. So that's why I'm pointing it out. And the last difference, and I noticed that I always try not to do this, is you can see my left arm here is low. I've heard many times that the left arm, while you swing, it should be at a higher position. And the way to ensure that that happens is grabbing the racket with your left arm over your shoulder. You can see how Federer is exactly doing that. He's grabbing the racket with his left hand, which allows him to have that hand higher. I imagine this helps with stability. Whereas me, look at me. My left arm is just dangling there, not doing anything. And this is also a mistake that I've seen many times doing on my one-handed backhand as well, where the left arm, it seems to be very passive, just laying to my side. So that's the 7th and last difference. I want to point out that right after this, when we both grab the racket here, at this point, look, we're in exactly the same position. So we started differently. Our racket drop was different. Our racket lag was different. The point of contact was exactly the same. The follow through was different. I grabbed the racket late, not over my shoulder, but at the end, at the very, very end, look at that. This is exactly the same position. So there are some similarities. The question is, this difference actually make a huge difference? Are they mistakes or just differences? So let me know in the comments, what do you think about this comparison, if you want to see more comparisons in the future, and if you have any feedback as to how can I improve my ground strokes. And I'll keep doing this, especially hopefully having some kind of improvement over time. And I'll do the same with the serve, which I think, oh my God, that's going to be a difficult one. All right, thanks for watching.